Well, you know, if it's Friday morning, it is time for another episode of the About Mansfield Consumer Advice Series. I'm Steve Casillo. Appreciate you being here today. And chances are really good you right now are doing one of three things. You're either watching it live on Facebook, or you are watching the video replay on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook, or you're listening to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Tell you what, this is another, as we do every week, another 10-minute nugget of information. So start your coffee break right now if you're at work, and we'll let you know at the very end that it's time to go back to work because your 10 minutes are up. And so, as we do every Friday, we bring in the financial philosopher, Phillip Washington Jr. Say hello to the audience.
How's it going, everybody? Hope you're having a good month so far.
Yeah. And today is, we're in August now.
Mm-hmm. August time.
That's right. August is my birthday month. So
Nice.
Yeah.
I like August. August reminds me of like the fact that fall is coming. The heat is getting ready to be over.
Well, to me as a parent, August was always my favorite month, not only because of my birthday, but because it's back to school.
Yeah.
And it's almost one of those yes type moments.
Get them back to learning.
Yes, but my kids they're out of school now, and you'll be there one of these days, and you'll understand. So today we are talking about the negative effects of resistance, or resistance.
Resistance.
Yes, as
like my brethren say.
your newly found French brethren.
Absolutely. 13%.
So this begs the question, and so before we get into the very simple question, you recorded your podcast earlier today, Wealth Building Made Simple, and really what we do is we take your topic from the show that you recorded, and we adapt that into the Consumer Advice Series. And so again, the negative effects of resistance, and all right, so that begs the very simple question: what are the negative effects of resistance?
Yeah, so we want to talk about what resistance, what it means to resist is to withstand or oppose something. And in order to withstand or oppose something, it needs to actually have power, right? Because in order to have power, it has to actually be true. And so there should never really be a reason for you to ever resist anything, because we should always be open to truth, right? And then things that are not true, which are lies, like we just ignore because lies are not real. I mean, literally, the definition of a lie is something that is not real. And so resistance is stopping the flow of truth, which means ignorance. And so and we'll talk about like an example, right? So, a lot of people get stuck mentally in their job, in their relationships, with their money, because they are resisting change. It's the reason why a lot of folks may hold way too much cash, right? Or they may have made fun of, Facebook, Amazon, making fun of Bitcoin, and missed those investment opportunities because they were resistant to change.
Right.
They didn't know, and so they assumed negative versus seeking, well, let me understand.
All right. When you say stopping the flow, the first thing that popped into my mind was, all right, so you've got a river, and someone builds a dam, and then all of a sudden you not only have a river, but then the river turns into a lake, but the flow of the water has been
Contained.
right, has stopped because of the dam. And is that not as someone becomes older and stuck in their ways, they have eventually built the dam around them?
And I think that's the definition of like aging. Have you now that I'm getting older, you see people that look way older than what they should be. Y'all are similar ages, and you're like, man, you might say, man, you look good, but in your head you're like, man, what happened, right? You're trying to be respectful because you know the way that we think, I believe, reflects in how we look and how we express ourselves. And for some reason, the older we get, the more we become not. And I'm saying we as a collective species,
Right.
not everybody, but we feel the need to like close our mind to more and more. Like and we people will say things like, "Oh, these kids, right? These kids." On a podcast I talked about somebody saying, "Oh, these kids don't know how to communicate, right? All they do is stay in the house and play their games, and they don't know how to communicate the way that we know how to communicate." And I was like, "Well, you're thinking the old way, right? What we did as kids was, yeah, in the summertime we went outside for a few hours, but we were not out there 8 hours a day in 100-degree weather. We hopped from house to house playing games,
Right.
playing video games, right, or whatever. But we were like in the house, right? Our parents might have played board games or dominoes or Monopoly, but like nobody was in the house 8 hours a day in 100-degree weather ever, like outside of slavery, which you didn't have a choice.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm saying what the kids are doing now is people are thinking in terms of how they grew up versus I'm like, no, like actually pay attention to your kids and go, like my kid has a headset, you know, my oldest is the less expressive, and he expresses the heck out of himself when he's playing Fortnite or whatever games because they're talking, right? Except he's not limited to just friends in the neighborhood. He can play with his cousin who's in Houston. He can play with, people all over the world. And to me, I'm like, that's learning to express yourself. It's just different than what you're used to. It's not wrong. Different is not wrong. Thinking different is wrong is what leads to ignorance, right? Ignorant thinking, racism, sexism, all that kind of stuff.
Now, growing up in San Diego, where it was always 75 year round, yeah, we played outside for 8 hours a day.
Absolutely. I would love to have those kind of summer times.
And what else is the the question came up on your podcast again, talking about the negative effects of resistance, and all right, so you're embracing new technology, you're embracing the future. Should I invest in everything new?
Great. I'm glad you asked that.
That's why I'm the host.
So having an open mind, I use the example of Bitcoin and Ethereum, for example.
Yeah.
And we'll just specifically stay on Bitcoin. So in my podcast is a great historic timeline of my thinking. And so if you go back to 2017, when Bitcoin was in the last in a peak cycle of everybody was just buying it, but most people were buying it without understanding it. They were just like, I'm buying Bitcoin. Well, why? Because it's going up a lot. And I just want to make a couple money in a couple of weeks, right? Short-term thinking. If you listen to our last podcast,
Right.
They were buying it out of short-term thinking, not understanding, to try to make some quick money. And I was like, this is actually a terrible time to buy because everybody's buying for short-term thinking. And I even said, I believe that cryptocurrencies are going to be the future, right? Because it's like tech stocks were a preview into buying on the internet, but it didn't mean go buy all tech stocks. It meant it's time to understand. And so I said, it's the future. It's not time to buy right now, right? And then 3 months later, like it just collapsed. But I began to go on. I was like, okay, so if it's the future, I did a 2-year, hard, detailed dive on what Bitcoin, like what cryptocurrencies were, which led me to Bitcoin being the cryptocurrency that had all those attributes that we listed last week.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay, Bitcoin is a better monetary system than the current system that we have. And if you look at all the asset classes around the world, this has the most attributes that's going to attract money, right? It was the best bait for money for the digital age. And so I kept the open mind. Same with Ethereum. I still say to this day, Ethereum has a wishy-washy vision. It doesn't have a disciplined vision. It's all over the place. They keep changing it. It's controlled by very few people at the top. So I choose not to invest into it. Is that the same thing as saying I will never invest in Ethereum? No. Like when there's new information, I'm always open to it. I keep an open mind. But I do my research and I put the hours in and I use my filter to make the decision and I decide in this moment whether I'm gonna do it or not. But I'm always open, right? And I think that's the difference between like you should never have a closed mind. There's no reason to ever have a closed mind.
No resistance.
No resistance.
What do they say? Yeah, hell, I'll cut that out. There's something, not defeat the resistance.
Do not resist. Is that what
Okay,
it is?
never mind.
Oh, no,
Whoops.
no. There it is. Resistance is futile.
Resistance is futile.
That's what it is. Resistance is futile. Yes, that's true. That's so true. It's typically used like in a negative connotation, right? When like the bad guy's trying to take over and they're like, resistance is futile. I think it's actually like positive, right? Because to resist is to stay ignorant. And that's never a good thing.
It's true. It's true. If someone wanted to reach out to Phillip Washington Jr. and talk about the resistance or how to the negative effects of resistance or how to keep an open mind, how can they reach out to Phillip?
Best way, I'm going to give another one. Check me out at Ask Phillip on Instagram. Ask Phillip on Instagram. If you're not on Instagram, get on Instagram. It's where all the cool kids hang out. I guess it's not a lot of kids. The kids are on TikTok. But us grown-ups who are like 30 and 40, that's where we hang out.
He is what I have titled the financial philosopher. And we do this every week on Facebook and other parts of social media. Phillip, appreciate you being here. Let's do it again next week.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.